Growing up, I fantasized about my ideal future husband. I wanted him to be tall, dark, handsome, and wealthy, so I could live a comfortable life. I desired to be pampered and cared for. I devoted my energy toward finding my dream man. I met Femi one day at a fancy restaurant in Abuja. He was tall, dark, and handsome, but I didn't know about his financial situation. However, he dressed well, which suggested he might be wealthy. We started hanging out, and I found him to be kind, godly, and sweet. We discussed everything and spent a lot of time together. For me, love was about receiving gifts and attention. Femi was handsome, but he wasn't the generous type. He never sent me money for upkeep. Instead, he would advise me to learn new skills and invest in stock and properties. He was always interested in knowing how I spent my day and how I planned my life. I didn't appreciate his constant questions and advice. As a 25 years old young lady, I felt I still had my whole life ahead of me, and Femi's intrusive behavior annoyed me. He was also very religious, which wasn't my cup of tea. He would often invite me to church and weekly fellowship, but I wasn't interested. One day after work, I went shopping at a nearby supermarket. That's where I ran into Emeka, an old classmate. We were thrilled to see each other and exchange contacts. Emeka was one of the handsome guys in my secondary school class. He had only spent one academic year with us before relocating to Lagos with his family. I was delighted to reconnect with Emeka. We quickly bonded, and he turned out to be a generous spender. He treated me like a queen, and after 2 months, he proposed to me. I said yes, and that day was the happiest day of my life. I thought I had finally found my dream man. I broke up with Femi because Emeka ticks all the boxes. I thought Femi was boring and too serious with life. Emeka and I got married after a month of wedding preparation, and married life was sweet. I had the best moments of my life. Emeka asked me to quit my job, saying he didn't want me to go through the stress of 9 to 5. Even when I discovered Emeka's vices, drinking, gambling, and smoking, I chose to ignore them because he spent lavishly on me. 4 months into our marriage, I got pregnant, and Emeka treated me like royalty. However, our happiness was short-lived. Emeka came home one day saying he had lost 40 million naira to gambling. I consoled him and offered to give him the 5 million naira I had saved up to help him start a business. We planned to use the money to start a thrift business, but to my surprise, he lost the money to gambling again. I was devastated, and words couldn't describe how I felt. That money was our last hope. I regretted giving it to him. As things got worse, we had to move to a smaller apartment, and I started selling cooked food on the streets to make ends meet. Emeka started selling our properties, using the money to gamble without my knowledge. I had to save up money from selling my jewelries to start the food business, yet Emeka continued to steal from me. One day, While selling food, I saw Femi and the young lady looking happy and content. I felt so ashamed and embarrassed. I had to hide. That day, I reflected on my life and realized how my wrong decision had led me to misery. I am stuck with Emeka, and Emeka no longer cared about me or our children. He only cared about his gambling habit. The entire family burden fell on my shoulder, and I had to sacrifice my own needs to provide for my children. It's too late now, and I wish I could turn back the hands of clock and make better choices. I wish I had looked beyond superficial qualities and focused on what truly mattered, but it is too late to turn back. My dream man had finally put me in trouble.